towards the advances. There are much more advances in trade today, very, very few declines to speak of. Let's very quickly take you through the heat map for the Nifty 50 just to give you a sense of the patchwork that is the 50 stocks that represent the Nifty 50. And you will see that there are more gainers than losers right now, 1.1% right now. But the likes of the large names, and I'm talking about so SBI, which is up about 4.4%, and several other public sector utilities, the likes of ONGC, the likes of Coal India, BPCL, Power Grid, all within the top gainers of the Nifty 50. There you go. The screen is pointing to gains, significant gains for NTPC, Power Grid, Larsen & Toubro, another heavyweight, up as much as 3% or thereabouts. Reliance Industries adding about 1% or so. The losers are some of the big gainers earlier in the week. So you have HUL, you have Hero MotoCorp, Nestle, which remember were the themes that were doing well when the market was not. So those are losing a little bit of ground at the start today. But let's focus on one particular stock, and that is Uno Minda, because this stock is arguably the stock of the day. There is a development that we will talk about in just a bit, but look at that chart. It's up as much as 18% in trade today, and we've got Puneet joining in to tell you about why the development that came in overnight is so significant. Puneet, what can you tell us?
Yeah, thanks for that. So it is a significant development because of the company's history with these technical tie-ups. But let's deep dive into what this is. So they have partnered with Inovance Automotive, which is a Chinese company, and to strengthen the electric four-wheeler product portfolio. When you look into specifics of which segment they are going to go, they are looking to manufacture and sell high voltage EV products, which are currently some are imported in India, and very less players from the local auto component makers have some presence in this particular segment. Now this is both for passenger vehicles as well as commercial vehicles, and certain products that include in this particular technical tie-up would be the charging control unit, or the CCU as we call it, the EV inverters, electric vehicle motors as well, and finally, which is the main product, which is a 3-in-1 electric drive system axle, which is a key product for the commercial vehicle industry for the electric trucks going forward as well. Now through this tie-up, they are aiming to further strengthen partnership and transition into a potential joint venture as well as any kind of products which the JV partner might have in the future as well. Now for Inovance, the company had revenues of roughly $4.2 billion in financial year 2023, to a really strong product profile as well as revenue profile for the company. Kotak Institutional Equities came out with a report this morning. They have retained the buy, although it's much lower than the target price, coming at roughly 930 rupees per share. They have said that this is a key partnership with the company has formed, and also the company that they have formed with Inovance Automotive is one of the largest e-powertrain suppliers in China. They have any kind of uptick in EV adoption will be key for the company to go forward. And one other thing that they mentioned is that the potential kit value which these guys offer to the car makers could be anywhere between 1.5 lakh to 2.5 lakh, which is really strong compared to the current portfolio that Uno Minda has. Finally, why is this so important, as you rightly asked, is because of the company's history in technical tie-ups. Do note in Q4 also they had come up with a technical tie-up with a particular company, and that has the company said in this conference call that it has really strong product profile and good acceptance from customers as well. And traditionally they have done multiple such tie-ups in the past as well. So overall, really strong tie-up in the product and passenger vehicle space where the customer wasn't present before.
Right. Thanks so much for getting us those details, Puneet, and certainly important development. Let's get our experts on board. We've got Akshay Bhagwat, who's Senior Vice President at JM Financial, and Vineet Polinchkar, Head Research at Ventura Securities. Thank you to the both of you, and always a pleasure having you on the show. Vineet, I'll come to you for a quick view on Uno Minda. I was looking at some of the target prices out there, and they've all been breached, particularly based on the move today. So if you have missed the bus, what should you do, and do you like this stock?
We love this stock. And we love it because, its portfolio is absolutely skewed towards the high growth segment. So you have switches, you have lighting, you have axles, and seats and accessories are businesses which are growing slow. But the three of these are very, very high growth sectors, and they straddle both the two-wheelers as well as four-wheeler segment. Where they lagged was typically in the EV space, was in the BMS and the battery category. And with this tie-up, along with the other tie-up that they have, I forget the name. I think it is going to open up a very large market for them. As the value of the kit goes up, the operating leverage also expands. So here we are not only seeing value of the kit go up, it is going up multiple times, right? So these things will pole vault Uno Minda into a very high growth category. And while margins may remain around the same levels, but the important thing is that, they have annual inflation contracts which are passed on. Nearly 95% of the component of inflation passed through. So I believe that it's a very steady growth company. Margins will sustain, and this will add new levers of growth, taking the company into a totally different orbit. Definitely a buy.
Definitely buy, even at this point, is the view on Uno Minda. It's time to jump into the queries, and we've got several coming in, some from very far away. I'll get to that in just a bit. But Nisha Yadav has got the first question today, and Nisha has gotten to a stock that is underperformed. I'll come to you on this one, Akshay. It's JP Associates. It's at lower circuit today as well, and I'm not certain if you have any advice on this, but she's bought at levels of 16. She obviously is not going to be able to sell today, but should she exit at whatever price she gets? And if that is in fact the advice, what would you suggest that she gets into instead?
Good morning. Well, clearly the advice is exit. Now, firstly, the thing is, if you look at the nature of the stock, it's running on lower circuits. One of the most riskiest bet to take. And the nature of stock itself is suggesting the way it is heading. Probably if you were to search where these circuits would stop, probably somewhere around 10 rupees is where might get an exit. But at the first sight of exit, you move out of the stock, move to better names. If you're searching for names from the same price band, I think Vodafone Idea is a better bet at the same price, 15-16 where it trades. But the first advice is exit JP Associate at the best price you get.
Right, and be a little careful about these stocks that hit circuit on an ongoing basis. Let's talk about the next counter, and this is Sankara Narayan, who's writing in from Shimla, and he's asking about whether or not to consider any names in the defense space that are either CPSU or private sector. Can you suggest two each for investment? I'm not certain about the rest of his portfolio, Vineet, but and I won't hold you to two names each. But what, according to you, looks attractive at these levels? Some of them have bounced back very sharply today and yesterday.
So I'll go with HAL and BEL for the CPSE portfolio. And for your private names, we like Zentech because drones are becoming a key part of defense globally. And we also like Lokesh Machine Works, which is got a contract for small arms, and the space addressable market is about 12 lakh each for the armed forces, reserves, and the state police force. So great market. Both companies are doing exceedingly well, and these are our recommendations.
Okay, fair point. And it is an active space. The next counter we're talking about is Interglobe Aviation, and if you pull up, I would request the year-to-date chart. I'm talking about 2024. We've got a viewer, Pranav, who's asking about what the prediction is about the price trend for this counter. It's up as much as 44% year-to-date, so done pretty well. Akshay, on the charts, does that momentum continue, and would you suggest a buy at these levels?
Yes, definitely. From the momentum view, it's more, if you look at short term, it's been kind of confined in a range. 4,000 is clearly one support which is emerging out if you're a short term to medium term trader. Time and again, good buying, good volumes picking up near 4,000 is suggestive of the fact that the trend is still strong. So from a longer term perspective, yes, 40% plus return done, but I still believe this can give you returns possibly till targets of 4850 to 5,000. So if I were to project targets for you from a long term investing perspective, then 4850, 5,000 is the targets you look forward to. If you're a short-term trader, then 4600, that is the target you should work with. But definitely one of the stock you should be owning or buying at the current rates. As a risk management, 3850 is the stop loss I would suggest for the targets I mentioned.
All right. We've got Muralidharan, who is tuning in from Seattle in the USA. I hope you are not sleepless where you are at. But the question that you have for us is on Websol Energy. And it was bought at levels of 418, and you've got as many as 2,200 shares. You're asking what the price trends are. Akshay, I'll come back to you on this one. What would you suggest? What is the kind of advice you would give to Muralidharan?
Yes, the short-term trend is a bit weak because it's been slightly in a profit booking mode right from 700 to 580 where it currently trades. But the sense is it might see a temporary recovery from the current trade. So if you're a short-term trader, 550, 525 is somewhere the stock is searching for a base, and possibly the probability is high that you will see a temporary recovery right after 650. So 650 is a trading upside if you're looking from short-term perspective. If you're a long-term investor in the stock, the trend is still strong. The broader support zone is 500. Until 500 holds, expect a recovery back again till 750, which is the all-time high levels for the stock. So hold on to your investing bet. If you want to enter, yes, it's a good level to enter. 500 long-term support, 550, 525 short-term support. But from the current levels, the probability works high for a recovery from the current zones.
All right. That's view on WebSol. Gillette India is the next counter that we're talking about, and this is a question from Yagnesh Balakrishnan. He's asking whether it can be bought at the current level. The stock is currently trading at 7,600 or thereabouts. Vineet, on the basis of fundamentals, would you hold on to this? In the past, it has been described as a portfolio stock.
See, they're virtual monopoly in the shaving industry, or rather call me hair care. I think they do a great job, and definitely the stock can be bought. And, we are actually in an upcycle as far as FMCG stocks are concerned. So, if it were to do 8,000 plus, then I think it gets into a buy zone, and the stock can really fly from there.
Point. Aditya Birla Fashion and Retail is the next counter that we're looking at. Of course, there are several developments on the fundamentals of this counter, and we've got Satya. He's asking we should book profits in ABFRL. I'm not very certain, Vineet, at what level he bought at, but seemingly he's making a profit. Should he hold on though?
I think definitely he should hold on, and the reason is that they've done some demergers where the concentration of business will be good. And I believe that will lead to a re-rating of the stock, and with a renewed vigor of the management to understand how the business runs.
All right, so keep a hold on ABFRL. We've got several more questions to take, but we have to slip into a very quick commercial break. Viewers, do stay tuned, and we'll be back very quickly to take more of your questions. Welcome back. You're watching Ask Profit, and we're in the midst of taking all of your questions. And if you've got questions for us, by the way, you see that number on your screen. That's where you send them to us, and we'll take as many as possible. The next one we're taking is on ITC. It's from Manikandan, and he's asking whether it can be bought at the current levels. Akshay, based on the charts and what you're seeing there, should it be bought? It's up only about 0.7% today.
Yes, see, lately FMCG, consumer durables have been the flavor in the last couple of days. Defensive bets, the names in defensive bets are being picked up, but somewhere ITC has not yet joined the band. As I see, it is more of a long-term bet. If you are keen on stocks, where in case the market has some abrupt downside swings, this is one of the safest bet to be into, because this is a very laggard compared to how the market moves, how the sector moves. It is a safe bet. Comparatively slow mover, but the way the prices are setting up, 410, 415 is a strong base which the stock is setting up. Eventually, if you give the stock time of over 3 to 5 months, I see the stock once again heading for upsides of 470, 75. So if that target interests you, hold on to your bets. You can even consider buying fresh. A slow mover, but definitely one of the stocks to be in your portfolio for targets of 470 to 475.
All right, the next question is from Mathan. Mathan's tuning in from Chennai, and he's asking a general question. Akshay, what would you suggest for an intraday strategy? Of course, just about another 3.5 hours left for trade, but anything that looks attractive to you right now, or something like a BTSD?
Today the markets are choppy. It's the weekly expiry day for the Nifty index, and the way the choppiness I see it's going to swing both ways. If you're searching for stock bets, again I believe with the market slightly seeing a correction, FMCG and the pharma names can see a slight recovery. So from an intraday perspective, if you're looking at names, stocks from the pharma space like a Lupin or a Sun Pharma, which did well yesterday but are cooling off today, can see a recovery back again. So I would suggest go for defensive names today. FMCG, HUL is the best bet. Again, Dabur can be one best bet. And in the pharma space, I've named Sun Pharma and Cipla for you. So these can be considered from an intraday perspective or a carry forward perspective.
Okay, fair point. The next question is from Sunil. He's asking about RK Forging, and he's looking for both the short and medium term outlook. He's bought it at an average price of 760, and he's looking for a view. I'm going to come to you, Vineet, on this one, because I've seen in the run up to elections, of course, or the results rather, and you've seen a lot of volatility this week, but I've seen some of these names do particularly well and move very sharply at that. What's the view on RK Forging?
No, I think it's definitely a good company to hold. Although his mark to margin is, he's losing money. But this stock has got great potential. They got a railway tie-up, and things are going to be hunky-dory for this. Their order book is good, and this management is all about growth. Their margins are high. They've got appetite for building business, and I think they perfected that model. And they should. This is one of those portfolio stocks which you just sit on and let it perform.
Sit on it. Okay, the next one's Tata Steel, and Dhruvraj Patil has got this question. He's bought at levels of 137.85 for the long term, 5 years. He's asking what the outlook is, and should he add more at these prices, which is at 171 or thereabouts. Vineet, what's the outlook here? I guess it would depend on the underlying demand and the underlying picture for metals.
So, one very good thing about Tata's India business is that their mining lease has been renewed till 2067. So there is no question of revising the input cost of, iron ore. That is number one. Number two, demand in India is sustainable. Government has huge growth targets in terms of, what kind of capacities we should have. So they are well placed out there. Their capacities are working at peak utilizations. The only problem is with their international, British and the Dutch verticals. Lately, there was an article just yesterday where it said that the Dutch will compensate the Tatas to do a cleanup up to $2 billion. So that is a very positive thing, and that improves the the valuation of Tata Steel. Tata Steel is available at distress valuation, if I may say, and compared to the other players. And so I think that this can play out to be a dark horse. However, the timing is uncertain, but this could make up for the lack of performance with the other steel stocks starting from here.
All right. The next question is from Ajay, and again, this one's a slightly broad-based question, Vineet, for you. on the basis of good fundamentals and based on the assumption that the economy is doing reasonably well, is it a good time to invest a good amount of market in the market right now? Because of the kind of volatility that you've seen and the kind of drop that you've seen in a few prices. I do want to draw attention of Ajay to the fact that a lot of the stocks that crashed on Tuesday have recovered quite significantly over the course of yesterday and today. But having said that, Vineet, anything looking attractive to you right now?
I think, he should have been investing heavily yesterday. But just on a lighter note. But I believe that, there are substantial pockets of opportunity in this market. And for him to invest heavily, I would recommend him to go with large cap stocks, build the confidence, and then move lower down in market cap basis. So in the large cap stocks, we like Adani Enterprises, Adani Ports, HDFC Bank going really cheap, SBI going very cheap, and Gujarat Ambuja. These are some of the 5 stocks that I will recommend to him. He should look at Marico in the FMCG basket. So these are 5-6 names which are doing really, really well and expected to perform very well in the near and the long term.
Okay, incidentally, one of the picks that you have suggested, State Bank of India, Amit from Pune has got a question on this. He's bought at an attractive price. He's got 300 shares at levels of 317. The stock is currently at 823 or thereabouts. It's had a stellar run this year. The question is, should you buy more? Should you sell or hold? Based on the fundamentals, Vineet has already said that it is a buy from his side. But Akshay, based on the charts, would you take any money off the table or would you add more at this point?
Attractive rates is the entry point here, and really it's about now protecting your profits. I do not advise book it because it's just a phase where because of the events there is some volatility in State Bank of India. If I were to project targets from here slightly from a long term perspective, 975 to 1000 should be on in the long term. So I would suggest considering the volatility, at least you need to have a protective stop loss, a revised stop loss of 700 just in case things change, the scenario changes going ahead. So trail your stops to 700. Maybe you can consider booking out maybe 30-40% of the quantity here, but definitely half of the quantity you should hold on for the target projection of 1000 from a long-term perspective.
Quick few answers. We've got another 3 minutes to play with. The next question is on Puravankara. Akshay, if you can pull up that chart. The question is from Chauda. He's asking whether it can be bought at this current level.
Yes, if I look at the charts of Puravankara Limited, the longer term charts are very strong still. It is just that from short term, it's been confined in a range, 360 lower end of the range, 450 upper end of the range. Overall, there is no problem with the charts. It is just that momentum is gone off for short term. I believe overall 525 to 550 should be in the making from a medium term perspective. Hold on to your bets. If you want to add, you can consider buying at the current rate. 340 is your stop loss, 525 is the target you work with.
Okay, one last question. CG Power, Janakiraman wants to know about the long-term prospects. Would you hold? Vineet, I'm assuming that he has bought, but I do not know at what level, but would you hold this stock?
Absolutely. Great management, great vertical to be in. And the company is firing on all cylinders business model. So it's a buy.
Okay. All right. On that note, gentlemen, thank you so much for taking the time. It's been an absolute pleasure having you on the show. And hopefully the answers that you've given to the questions that our viewers have asked have helped not just them, but also everybody else tuning in. Viewers, it's been an absolute pleasure bringing you this show. Thanks so much for tuning in. And do stay tuned. Lots more coming up over the course of the day. This is NDTV Profit.
Hello and welcome. This is Hot Money. I'm Agam Vakil, and this show we take you through all the stocks which are buzzing in trade. But before that, a quick look at markets which are currently showing strength. Sure, they're off days highs, but we still are in the green. For the Nifty, advancing by 0.6%, the Bank Nifty up again 0.6%, and well, in the last 15-20 odd minutes, or rather last half an hour, there's just been a little bit of fatigue. Now we must remember that yesterday's low was around 21,800, and in the day before that we were even lower. So we've covered a lot of ground since the low of day before. Naturally, a little bit of volatility is perhaps on anticipated lines. Well, I reckon that to a certain extent, some will also look to book some amount of profits had they made their move, somewhere around lows of yesterday and lows of day before. That said, at the moment, we are continuing to see strength as far as the benchmarks are concerned. Not too much shakiness. The big positive, of course, also is, perhaps in this case, that the India Volatility Index has come up further, and it's now below the mark of 18. Well, 17.67 to be precise. As we speak, it's down another 6.5%. And that is also something which at least bulls can take as a positive sign. Stability is always, positive, and it's a plus. But let's take a look at some of the key gainers, perhaps the movers in trade today. If you just look at the Nifty, we are looking at contribution from SBI, L&T, and Infosys. And on the losing end, we're looking at a little bit of shakiness from M&M, Hindustan Unilever, as well as Sun Pharma. But, coming down to broader markets, that's where there is a lot more activity, a lot more outperformance as well with respect to the key benchmarks. The mid-cap index is up around 2.5%, 2.53% to be precise. The small-cap index continues its outperformance, and that index is up as much as nearly 3.1%. The number of pi actually 3.14. And that said, in terms of gainers today, we have a recovery of sorts for a lot of these stocks which taken a huge hit in the past couple of sessions. BHEL is recovering up nearly 12% at the moment. So, and these are some of those PSU